looks clear in the monitor here, so I'm having trouble with clarity. Some of my clips I noticed lately. It's a new phone, so. But here I got the magneto back installed, and then I went to look at the carburetor, and the throttle linkage is stuck. So I'm going to pull the carburetor off and rebuild the carburetor, and that's pretty much the last item to do on this motor. Another issue was the twist grip was very tight. I freed it up, but it's still very tight. The one main screw that goes through here to here is really frozen. So I might have to, what I do is I come from underneath with a cutting wheel and I just cut the bolt. Then I deal with the broken bolt stub, getting it out directly. You can get the heat directly on and everything, so it's much easier to do. But I only do that as a last resort if I cannot get that screw out. Most times I get it out. I will try one more time. If that don't work, I'll cut the bolt in the bottom and free all the shafts. You know, the tiller shaft seems okay. It's the shaft mainly in the steering bracket that's stuck here and here. So it was carburetor first, then the tiller. So let me pull the carburetor off, and then I'll show you what I'm doing. Here I got the carburetor opened. It's very clean inside. Found a couple issues. I'm glad I took the carburetor off because the throttle linkage was stuck. So what I do is I heat it up very carefully. Once I take the lower bowl off and everything, the choke handle off, I heat it up in here, inside the venturi, in the back, on both sides, just a little bit. And also on this side, but not too much because there's a spring there. Mostly inside the venturi, on both sides of the shaft, and also the where I have the vice grip here. And I've been doing this for about a few minutes, and it's getting easier and easier. I mean, you can take the shafts out and really do it that way, but the two little screws that hold it to the shaft are peened over, and once they're unpeened, they're not the easiest thing to peen back once you put it back together. I'm sure they had a special tool when they assembled these. You could use Loctite, but I just assume spend a few minutes with WD-40, and you know, I got it pretty free right now, so I'm almost ready to clean this carburetor and put it back together. But what I did notice when on the choke side here, if it focuses, the tab that meets the, again, you can see how clean the bottom of the bowl is. It's like brand new. This little arm that comes off of this piece here to the choke shaft is bent back. So that might not give you a full choke scenario. So I'm going to take this brass piece off. I'm going to polish all the brass pieces. It only takes a few minutes. And then I'll straighten this out. And I think also something else was bent too. I forgot where I saw it. Two pieces were actually bent. It was that. Oh yeah, and this too. It's got to be square. It's got to be the right angle. So I got to fix those two little minor things, clean it, put it back together. Again, the carburetor's in really good shape. I think somebody might have glued the carburetor gasket down because usually they don't break in 4 places. It could be because they used the paper material back in the early 50s and they changed to the plastic. I'm not sure. But I think somebody might have glued it down, so I had to use a razor blade to get it off. So I got to replace that. Everything else looks good. The needle float, I mean, that's like brand new. A lot of people will change them to the plastic ones, but if the mount if you see the shellac is pretty much evenly all over the cork, it looks pretty nice. And the brass is like this one. You could throw it in a bowl of water, make sure it floats properly. But other than that, I use them over. I don't change them again unless I have to. But I work on a lot of motors. I don't work on 1 or 2 here and there. So you can just change it if you want, but I like using the original stuff, especially when it's in the condition like that. I mean, that's kind of like, you know, next to new, really. I've seen them where they're loose, but they actually get loose. You know, I mean, you can retighten them too, but usually only if the cork is broken or missing, then I'll change it. But I mean, that's a nice float. For being in there since 1954 or 53, whatever. All the other parts came right apart, nice and easy. I'm going to clean them, polish the needle valves, you know, like I always do, just to brighten it up a little bit, and put it back on the motor. But I think this carburetor, except for the fact that the throttle had those issues, it probably would have started the way it was. But anyway, now that's covered, to the next clip. And I wanted to show you this. This shaft is bent too. So I'm going to remove it. It's got a little clip, just like the points right here where my fingertip is. Just pop that clip off real carefully. Mind you, it will go flying if you don't hold on to it. And straighten it out, probably in a vise. That's what I'll do. Very similar to the 118 I did not too long ago, which was affecting the timing and everything else. But I just wanted to show you this before I'll put this thing back together. See how bent it is. I'm not sure how it would affect the timing when it's bent like this. I'd have to put it back together and kind of analyze it. But anyway, I'm going to straighten it out. Okay. It's unbelievable. Like, 3 things were bent on this. So somebody was into this carburetor somewhere in the last 70 plus years. Okay. Okay, so that's it. Straightening out the shaft, the throttle shaft right here. I basically, like I said, I took it out. I put it in a vise up to right where my finger is, because this stuff, if you're not careful, you can break it. It's pretty brittle. And I used a mallet, 4 or 5 careful hits, and I got it pretty straight again. Along with the I squared this up here on the choke flap, and I also had to square this on the throttle. So 3 things were bent. This was really bent bad, so I wasn't getting a full choke. But now I do. I know I will. Actually, I didn't check it yet, but I'm sure I will. And this was bent a little bit, and this was bent quite a bit here too. So yeah, it's just little things, you know. Got to do it. Okay. Carburetor all assembled. No major issues. I did have to replace the gasket between the 2 bodies. It broke in 4 pieces when I took it apart. Now, if any of you outboard guys out there have ever messed around with this, trying to get this thing off and back on, it could be challenging if you don't know the proper way to do it. But I just found out, you know, I was messing around with it yesterday for a while when I was putting this thing back together, that you basically take this clip off on the top, take out this cotter pin right here, take the choke handle off, and remove the butterfly and screw inside here, take the shaft, push it this way, and this piece will kind of work itself right out, up and out. This side goes in first, picks up on the carb linkage right here. It's, like I say, I'm explaining this because it's pretty tricky if you've never done it before. This was all bent to hell when I got the carburetor, so somebody had this apart. Bent this piece out so it wouldn't choke properly, and also bent this piece too, this way, so it wouldn't be accurate with your throttle settings and timing with the mag and everything. But so I had to straighten this out, straighten this out, straighten this out, and straighten the shaft here. So now everything is working pretty good. Let me see here. There we go. This was all frozen when I started, but it was just dry seas basically. The choke too was a little tight. But again, if you ever mess with these things, these brass choke arms, you have to take the screw out here and push this shaft all the way in to get this in and out, pretty much back, up, and out. Just like the little tip for somebody who's never done that before. Anyway, the carbs are all ready to be put back on. I'm going to put new fuel lines on it. I cleaned up the bowl really nice. This was all rusty, so I buffed it all out. I cleaned the glass. It was all stained, and the filter inside. I put 2 new packings. There's 2 on each low, high and low. There's 2 packing fiber washers that go inside there. I think the original ones were, they were softer material. I'm not sure what they made them out of, but they can be expensive. I think O-rings will work in a pinch. You can put 2 small O-rings in there, but the packings are available on eBay and, you know, various marine supply houses. anyway, I did put a one packing on each valve to make these nice and snug because they were very loose. So that's all done now. Okay, so it's ready to put this car back on the motor. Something that definitely had to be done, and I wasn't going to do it originally. I was just going to try to start it. But it was clean inside. Nothing seemed to be blocked. Like I said, the gasket broke and it had all those bent issues on the linkage. But we're looking good. All right, this thing's going to be running pretty soon. I don't know when, but pretty soon. Okay. Well, here I got the carburetor all installed. Did all the straightening, like you've seen in the previous clips. I'm glad I took the carburetor off. Getting close to trying to start this thing. I spent about over 2 hours, totally took the tiller handle off. I actually replaced the one side of the tiller with the shaft because the bushing was missing in here. That keeps it locked into the gear. So I had it, after I freed all the shafts up, I took the shaft out of here, took everything out, cleaned it, wire brushed it, greased it, got it all working nice and smooth now, but that bushing was broke. So it didn't keep the gear engaged. So I ended up going in the bone pile. I mean, I could have used this one. I could have actually popped the roll pin out, took the washer off, and put a spacer in there and use this if I had to in a pinch. But me having the parts, I just changed that too, just to save time. But good 2.5 hours, messing with that thing on and off, getting it all freed up. I did get the screw out here, which gave me trouble when I tried it a while back. I just heated the hell out of it and got it to work got it to free up with the heat. And put it all back together. I replaced the twist grip that had the original. I had the metal one on there with the extension provision on there to add the extension on there. I like the original grips on all my motors, so I always switch them over. And that's pretty much it. Next is going to run this thing and see how it goes from there. I try to kick it over for the first time before I hook up the water and tank and all that good stuff and see what happens. It's a little, with these air boxes on there, it's a little tough to get the ether in there, but it works this way in there. Let's see what happens. All right, here we go. Oop, it popped. Come on. All right, I'm gonna hook up the gas, get the water, and get this baby going. She's alive. Okay. Let's see. I got it pumped up. Pull the choke out. Let's see if she goes. Oh man. Take that, you mosquitoes. What do you think? Probably not run since the 60s. I'll let the water level get up a little higher. Looks like I might have some gear oil in that water, judging by the residue, but we'll check that later. I did not check the gear case. I would not be surprised if it needs a couple seals. But here, I just want to get it running, see if I can get it dialed in, and another old motor comes back to life. Let me start it up again. I do have a heavy oil mix, so. Let me go get the fan and blow some of this smoke away. I'm not sure if it's pumping water or not. Just hold on. I got my water running steady now. I got my fan hooked up to blow some of the smoke away. See if it's pumping any water or not. It's not too hot, so let's run it for a while. Wow. It seems to be pumping. Again, there's 2 years they use that weird midsection, 54 and 55. Wow, she sounds really good. I just adjusted the low speed. I set it at initially at 1.5 turns, and then I go clockwise till the RPM comes up, gets ready to stall, and then I back it like 1/4 of a turn. I'll go clockwise. RPM comes up. Actually, as soon as the RPM starts to come up, I'll back it like about 1/4 of a turn, and I'll leave it there. This motor sounds really good. Unbelievable. Folks, I don't know. This is why I do this. spend these hours, and you don't see the times when I curse and throw things, but that's just my Italian temper. But I always come back and I get control of myself and I get them going. This one sounds really good. I want to put the cover on because I always like to hear them run with the cover on. I don't see any water leaks. I had the power head off. She's pumping good water. The head's cold because these motors don't use thermostats. Thermostats came out in 1959. So that's why I don't like thermostats, because they didn't have them in the early days. You don't need them now. We'll run it again. You should start right up. I don't have the pressure tank. Got to keep pumping the fuel bowl. Now let's run it with the cover on. It's the best part. I do have the air line blocked on the connector for the gas tank over here. You really don't have to. It's the same with it on or off. Sounds sweet. I'm gonna run for a few minutes before I gotta pump the bowl again. Water pump's pumping nice. Love it. That's all she wrote, folks. So Dad's barn find gets a second life. Thanks, Kevin. She's a sweet motor. Did a lot of work on it, you know, from changing the cover to changing the cylinder head, straightening bent linkage on the carburetor, changing half of the tiller rod, changing the pull starter, put another water pump and housing in there, fixing the gear shift slop, putting some packings in the carburetor. And this is the reward you get. She's out of gas. All right. That's all she wrote.